to Monster Men.
Ho! Hey, we have a very special guest today. Actually, when I first started getting published in horror, he was the first friend I made. And his name is Brian Moreland. He's a nice guy. Look at him, handsome Texan over there. But he writes really demented stuff. His first book I remember that I read was Dead of Winter. Just blew me away. Soldiers in the Mist. And since then, he's written the Girl from the Blood Coven, The Witching House, The Devil's Woods, The Vagrants, and the latest that just came out recently, Darkness Rising, which if this doesn't win a Bram Stoker Award, I rescind my membership. Brian, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Hunter. Thanks, Jack. It's great to finally be on this show. I know we've talked about it a few times, and I've watched the show and really love what you guys do. I think it's an awesome thing.
I think it only took us a year and a half to get this done.
Yes.
I have been waiting to meet you, at least by Skype, and have you on the show for so long. Every time we talk about guests, I'm like, when's Moreland? When's Moreland?
I swear to God, it's true.
I've been exposed to a lot of authors through him. And I think you're the first one that I read a book of. I read Dead of Winter, and I freaking love that book.
Yeah. Thanks.
And then I read The Girl from the Blood Coven, and I thought you were brilliant because that is the best teaser. It's essentially the first chapter of the Witching House.
Yep.
And I'm just like, damn, that is the most gripping thing. I couldn't get to the next thing fast enough. So I love your work. All he does is talk about how much he loves you. And so I'm so psyched. So welcome. I'm so excited you're here.
Well, thanks, Jack. I know we've connected a few times on Twitter, and of course, I've hung out with Hunter at HorrorCon, so it's great to be on the show.
Yeah, man. Let me tell you, you are one of a handful of authors who I read every single thing you write. Like, if you were just to write an inter-office memo, I would say, well, get that over here. I want to read that. Your stuff is great, and it just gets better and better, which is disgusting. You're just a jerk. Whatever.
Hey, I could say the same about you. You keep putting out, like, I don't know what, 4 or 5 books a year now.
It feels like
I can't even keep up with you.
You know what? I was on Armand Rosamelia's podcast yesterday, and I was kind of bitching about the fact that I made this deal that I was going to write 4 books this year, and I'm on the 4th, and I'm just like really tired. He wrote 45 books in 1 year. I'm like, what are they, 4 pages?
45 books?
Was he on speed? What?
I know. He doesn't even really drink. So I'm like, well, I could never. First of all, I can't complain because this is what I always wanted.
Hey, you got a new goal now. Something you got to raise the bar, right?
Yeah, 45 books. I couldn't do that if there were 7 of me. But I mean, you put out everything you do is high quality, and I just want to kick off with Darkness Rising because I told you I finished reading it today. I was actually in the car waiting for my daughter to get out of school so I could take her to get a tattoo. Father of the Year.
Oh, cool, father.
Yeah, she's 18. It's all right. And I had like 2 pages left to go in the epilogue when she got in the car, and I ran home. And I finished reading those 2 pages, and I went right to my computer and just like, Stoker, give that man a Stoker. Why don't you tell people what that book is about, because it's tremendous.
Well, that book it's about this guy named Marty Weaver, and he's been bullied his whole life. He's a poet. He's a janitor at a private school, private college in Oregon, and he's got a crush on this girl he kind of knows named Jennifer. And so it starts off, kind of in his world, he's just this guy who's got a crush on a girl, and but he can't tell her that he's written 50 poems about her. Right. So he keeps his book private, and he goes out. He's got this spot at the lake, just deep in the woods, that he likes to go read the poem to the lake on the full moon. And well, this one particular night that he goes out there and starts reading his poetry, it happens to be the night that 3 sadistic serial killers are there shooting snuff films, and this is their killing ground. And they see Marty and this guy standing at the lake reading poetry, and they just can't help themselves to go, torture him and torment him. And
Victim.
that's right. Suddenly they have their next victim. Well, the more they torment him, the more they realize that Marty has a dark side also, that he's actually really suppressed. He's really worked hard to keep this dark side down, and they do enough violence to him that it actually brings it up. And then from there, it the whole story shifts into a revenge story. And I don't want to give too much away from that point because it's a major twist in the book.
Yep. Yeah, don't give it away, but
yeah,
it turns out Bruce Willis was dead the whole time.
That's right.
Here's the awesome thing about it. It's a horror novel, and there's some brutality in there, but it has a huge heart in it that you don't see in a lot of horror novels. And I thought that's what made it brilliant.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I really grew to Marty became a very endearing character for me, and I really was sort of rooting for him and pushing for him to be a good guy in the face of all this darkness. And yeah, at first when I wrote it, I thought, oh my God, this is way too violent and too brutal compared to my previous books. And, am I going to turn readers off? And, but I decided that it just needed to be the way the killers needed to be brutal in order for it to work.
Yeah, that's what it served the story well. So don't look, anybody who likes your stuff is going to love this. So don't you worry about that.
Okay, well, that's good.
It's got sort of a H.P. Lovecraft looking cover to it.
Yes, and there's actually some Lovecraftian imagery in the book. So yeah. I'm a big fan of Lovecraft, big fan of Clive Barker, and both of those have been strong influences on my last 3 books.
Yeah, it was very homoerotic.
Well, I didn't mean that.
Yeah, like when you go back and read some of Clive Barker stuff, you go, oh. Just like when you see Friday Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, you're like, oh. I see what's going on here now.
You got to see the documentary about Nightmare on Elm Street. They handle all that. That's real stuff in there. The homoerotic undertones. And the kid who was in it was like, I didn't realize it at the time.
Well, I remember in Nightmare on Elm Street 1 where the hand comes up between her legs, in the tub. I thought, they're aiming for something erotic there, right?
Oh, yeah. Rewatch 2, and you'll be like, oh, geez. This took a turn.
Wow. I haven't seen Nightmare on Elm Street 2 since I saw it at the theater when I was like 17 years old.
Oh, my God. Yeah, well.
That was one of the biggest letdown sequels ever.
Yeah, but they came back strong with Dream Warriors.
Yeah, Dream Warriors turns out to be probably my favorite of all of them.
Yeah, mine too.
Patricia Arquette, who, when she was in True Love, did you ever see that movie with Christian Slater?
True Romance.
Mm-hmm. Oh, True Romance, I'm thinking. True Love is an Annabelle Sciorra movie. She was the sexiest woman I've ever seen in film. That movie, to me, sexiest character I've ever seen in my life.
Is her name Alabama in that movie?
Oh, yeah. Tastes like a peach. So now, talk about movies. What kind of movies inspired Darkness Rising? Like things that you watched, you kind of drew on.
Well, I drew on movies where pretty much innocent people got victimized and so violently that they go back and seek revenge on their killers. A couple movies that come to mind is I Spit on Your Grave, especially the 1970s version, which is to me a classic.
Did you see the sequel? Because my wife just watched it overnight last week and said, you have to watch this.
Is that the remake?
Yeah, it was written by...
I did see the remake, and I liked it.
It was... I have the book here.
The bathtub scene in the original is the standout.
Adam Rockoff, he wrote this book about horror, The Horror of It All. Jack, you'd love this. It's about, video store horror and stuff like that. But I believe he wrote the sequel, the remake or whatever that was. And he said, look, they gave me a paycheck, and I decided to have a lot of fun with it. And my wife said it was really good.
Actually, I've heard there's like 2 sequels to the remake.
Yes.
And I've heard that they're all good. I've only seen the original remake. I saw the original a couple of times. That is a classic. And
they are all good. The second one, a girl gets taken to like Russia or Serbia, and the third one is about to come out. I don't know if it's out yet.
There's I spit on your casket and I spit on your deathbed.
Uh huh.
It works its way backwards. Until I spit in the waiting room when you're waiting to get a terminal.
The funny thing about watching I Spit on Your Grave Now is because it's so 70s.
Yeah.
And so, like, you have to, like, get used to, like, okay, I'm back. It's like when you watch Last House on the Left, the original one. And you're like, okay, I got to get back into that mindset and everything. And then all of a sudden, both of those movies hit the fan.
They are so raw. That's it. They just...
Same with, yeah, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original.
Yep.
I mean...
It looks like you came across like Uncle Fester's trunk and pulled out some 8mm movies. You're like, what the hell happened here?
Exactly. Another movie came out in the 80s, which is Fade to Black. And that one's about a guy he's kind of this actor, and he likes to put on makeup of all these characters, and he had a dark side, kind of a dark split personality, and that side came out and sought revenge on all the people that had hurt him in his life.
Right.
And have you seen Fade to Black?
Yeah, yeah. I saw it in the theater. Back when.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
That's a good movie.
It's a good movie. I don't know. I haven't seen it in maybe 20 years, so I'm not sure how it holds up today. I just remember the story being really good for its time. And Miss 45 is another movie.
Mm-hmm.
Woman gets raped by these thugs. It's another 70s movie. I think they even got a lot of good funk music, happening.
Well, isn't Sudden Impact is all basically a revenge movie, the Dirty Harry movie? So Sandra Locke gets raped, and then she goes back after the guys who
Sandra Locke, wasn't she dating him at that time?
Yeah, she's in like all of those.
They lived together for a long time, I think.
I love that movie, The Gauntlet, that they did together.
My friend Tom does the best impression, but there's one guy, like, she goes into his garage, and he tries to bribe her, and he's like, I have money. I can give you some.
It's like Peter Lorre with the cold.
My friend Tom does the best impression of it.
I have money.
The movie I'm thinking of is Carrie, when I hear this.
Yes, actually, Carrie would fit also as that sort of genre, because they sought people basically mistreated her, and then she turned out to have this sort of darker side that was really violent that they unleashed, and that's kind of how I see Marty Weaver. Although he's not telekinetic, he's got something else.
Right.
Oh, cool.
He didn't have to have tampons thrown at him and told to plug it up.
Yeah, in that shower scene.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, when I was a little kid and I first saw Carrie, the hand at the end that came out scared the hell out of me.
Oh, me too.
You know what? I didn't see the remake.
Neither have I.
I don't know if you've ever read the book. Like, the ending of the book, I guess they didn't have the budget to do that, but my daughter said they kind of did it in the remake with Chloe Grace Moretz. Because
I saw it. I thought it was a pretty good remake.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You'll like this, Brian. I was in Maine in August, and I stay in this town, Bridgeton, Maine. I've been going there all my life. And Stephen King lived there for a period of time, wrote some books there. He goes there all the time. Now, I've heard this since the 80s when he really became, in my mind, like, oh my God, Stephen King. And he just did a book signing before I got there for Finders Keepers. So one morning, it was my second week there. I said, you know what? I'm tired of having hair. I'm going to shave all my hair off so that way I don't have to do any hair. I can just go to the water and have fun. So it's 8:30 in the morning. I said, let me go to the barbershop, the barber of Bridgeton. That's what he calls himself. So I said, no, it's too early. I'll wait till 9. 9 o'clock, I go down to the barbershop, and as I go walking, and I see this tall guy with kind of gray hair walk by, and I was like, whoa, like totally tongue-tied. I continue into the barbershop, and the barber's kind of like going, I'm really kind of not open. I just did a fella's hair. I can't find my keys. Do you mind sitting? I'm like, no problem. So he says, he goes, I think that guy took my car keys. So I was like, oh, the guy who just walked out, he goes, yeah, you know him, Stephen King? So
oh my God.
I had a brush with Stephen King, but even if I knew it was like for sure, I'd probably be so tongue-tied I wouldn't say anything.
Yeah.
But the best part is I said to the guy, "Yeah, everybody knows Stephen King." And he looks at me. He goes, "You don't happen to have his phone number, do you?" But it was such a main thing to ask, and I'm like, "No." He was like, "Oh, because he's on his way to film down in New York on the Colbert Show." He goes, "I hope he remembers he has my keys and turns around."
Oh, wow. So this happened before that Colbert interview?
Yeah. So I actually fanboyed and waited outside the barbershop for a while until the locals were like, "What the hell is this guy doing here?" And I was like, "All right, I'm going back."
Boy, that'd be my dream to meet Stephen King. He's just such a hero to me.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there isn't anybody who's come along in horror who hasn't read his stuff and been influenced. Even the people who try to say they haven't, I call hijinks. No way.
Yeah.
So next time, now I know where he goes to get a haircut. I'll stay a month long, and I'll wait every day outside.
Yeah, you'll just stalk that place.
Hell yeah.
A barbershop seems like a great place to run into him, because if you read his books, there's always, like, Pet Sematary. They're sitting on the porch cracking beers.
Right.
Yeah.
He just is always evoking where guys like to hang out and talk. So if you could get him in a barbershop to just shoot the shit with you.
Well, he also goes to a little deli, the Main Street Variety Store, it's a deli and it's a variety store. They have ice cream, and when you go to get like a ice cream sandwich, in the cooler is the ice cream sandwich and also worms for bait, like right next to it. But supposedly he loves the Italian sub over there. So
good to know. Yeah, so now you got two places to hang out. Maybe you go right at the at the sandwich shop, and then you go and get a shave every day at the barber shop.
They're just a few blocks away. Just keep running up and down. I gotta go to the barber shop. I gotta go to the deli. Oh man.
So you I said Dead of Winter is the first book I read of yours, and I think that book would make a perfect movie.
Mm-hmm.
What books of yours would you like to see brought to the big screen?
Yeah, pick one. You can make one a movie. What's it gonna be?
One. Possibly The Witching House.
That would be a good movie too.
Dead of Winter, I'd love to be like an HBO series.
Yeah.
There's room there, and it's an epic novel, and there's room to kind of stretch it out over a season.
You're right, because there's like different settings and different things going on. Because part of that book, remember that movie Ravenous?
Yes.
Yeah.
Part of me was thinking Ravenous with the cavalry guys out in the cold and all that.
Yes.
But then you've got that whole the killer in that book is, oh my god, that would be so good on the screen.
Gustave Moreau.
I remember when I saw Dead of Winter, I sent you an email. I was like, dude, you have to check out this movie. It's got your Soldiers in the Mist and Dead of Winter.
What movie?
Dead of Winter. Not Dead of Winter. Dead Snow. That's what I'm saying.
Dead Snow, yeah. Yeah, I saw when Dead Snow came out. I was like, oh no, they've done the Nazi thing. Which I'd done in Shadows in the Mist, and I was afraid that like they might steal the thunder of the book, but fortunately they go for a more tongue-in-cheek. It's more of a dark comedy.
Yeah.
And mine stays. No, where they fight the Russians or something like that.
Yeah, it was way over the top.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see that with like friends and a lot of beer.
That's the key. I think they rolled a tank over a bunch of little kids at one point too.
Oh,
if I remember correctly. Yeah, it was like it just pulled out all the stops. It's funnier than the first one, and holds up remarkably.
Hey, speaking of horror movies with kids in it, have y'all seen the movie Cub?
No, I saw a trailer for that.
That's on my list.
It is good. It is worth. I got it off Netflix, and I'd read about it in I think Fangoria magazine or something. They did a whole spread on it.
Right.
And it's well done. It's a well done horror flick.
So, Cub, is it like it's about a boy, right?
It's about a group of Cub Scouts that go to the woods, and there is a boy there. They have this. They set up the story by saying out in the woods there's this kid named Kai, this wild kid, but it's what the the Cub Scout leaders. Like it's a couple of guys in their mid-20s or something.
Right.
They tell the story to these boys just to scare them. And this is Belgium. It's like so they're all, it's dubbed and everything. But they have Cub Scouts just like we do.
Right.
And so they take them out in the woods and they try to scare the kids. Well, it turns out there's really a kid out there, and he wears this mask and he does sinister things and he's mentored by an even more twisted serial killer. It's great.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
No, I wrote that on my list of like 10 movies I have to make sure to watch this month, so that was on there. And you said it's on Netflix?
Yes.
Oh, beautiful.
I didn't realize it was
pay
on
Amazon.
Netflix.
Yay, you just saved me money.
On Netflix saves me a lot of money. I get a ton of horror movies from there.
Awesome, man. Did you see what's that movie, Jack? We Are Still Here?
Yeah, that's not on Netflix, but that's a really good movie.
Actually, it just now on Netflix this week, and I've got it ordered to come in the next couple of days.
It's a awesome. It's a throwback. Well, I think it's set in the 70s, and it
feels like a 70s.
And it
movie.
feels like the 70s with Barbara Crampton from Reanimator and From Beyond. And You're Next, who's got this revival going, and Lisa Marie from she was Tim Burton's. Was she his wife for a while? I know she was in a bunch of his movies. And Larry Fessenden. It's really good, and it starts out one way, and then it takes a sharp right, and you're like, "What the hell?" It's really
I like
cool.
that. I like it when stories do that.
It's got the sort of the ghosty, creepy, monster-y kind of thing, but it's also got like shady townspeople. What's going on with them thing that all those 70s movies had.
Yeah, that end I didn't see coming. That was really weird stuff. It was good.
Were you satisfied with the ending?
I was, actually. It wasn't what I thought it would be. It took me... I was like, what the... And then when I let it gel, I'm like, well, all right. Good job.
All right.
Go ahead.
I was going to say he's doing, all right to the Texan.
I was going to say, did y'all see the Starry Eyes?
Yes.
Earlier?
Jack saw it, yeah.
I really, really liked it.
Yeah, that's another movie that like kind of like it gets going and it's one thing and then it shifts into high gear at the end.
Yeah, it goes into much further than what I expected it to go as far as the storyline and what happens and who these people are that this actress is going to visit.
Right. Yeah, that's another one on my list.
Yeah,
that's on Netflix.
Hey, now, getting away from movies, although actually it could include movies. We've been in a zombie cycle. It seems like forever. We were vampires and zombies. What do you think is what's the new big thing going to be in horror? If you put your ear to the ground, what do you think?
The new big thing. Let's see. We went through our werewolf, our vampire phase, and we went through a zombie phase. We went through a ghost haunted everything phase with found footage.
Yep.
Well, I don't know. Maybe werewolves, but there's the only thing about werewolves is it seems pretty limited of what you can do with the trope. It's
right. Well, you know what? It's funny you say that because we've got a couple of our brethren, Glenn Rolfe and Jonathan Jans, have werewolf books out.
That's right, they do. Wolfland and Blood and Rain.
Yeah, and I read Blood and Rain, and that was fun. It was like a fun werewolf movie. Slashing away. It was really cool. Because I thought when The Witching House came out, I started to see not a lot, but I saw this witch ripple.
Yes. We did have a witch wave right as the book came out. In fact, they did a whole article about it.
I was like, all right, is this where we're going? And Lords of Salem came out in the movies, and I was like, all right. But then that seemed to ebb.
It's coming back, though.
Yeah, I just wonder
We got the last Witch Hunter coming out.
Last Witch Hunter with Vin Diesel. I think Elijah Wood's in that.
Oh, really?
This month.
There's another movie. I think it's just called Witch.
Right.
That's got a really interesting trailer to it.
Maybe that is what's coming next.
And
I think witches are still hot. I think,
especially hot witches.
Yes.
Well, I've heard rumors of a remake of The Craft.
I like The Craft. I don't think it needs to be touched.
Yeah, neither do I. The other thing I
That's
think besides witches is possession seems to be something that people keep taking a run at.
yeah.
Yeah, but bad runs. There's a lot of terrible possession movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just a lot of straight to video
Yeah.
movies. So that kind of runs the genre, runs the trope down when all these straight to DVD movies make versions of it.
Yep. Exactly. So I know that you don't write according to what you think is going to be the next hottest thing, because I mean seriously, sometimes while we're writing a book, by the time we're done with it and it comes out, that wave could have crashed. And
That's right.
so, what's the next thing that you're working on?
I'm doing another historical story. Right now I'm writing a novella, and I'm just sort of playing around with it. It's set in Egypt in 1935.
Right.
It started out as an experimental short story that just keeps expanding into something more. And I've also challenged myself with a mostly British cast of archaeologists.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. And it was, like I said, it was started as a short story. It was meant to be part of a short story collection. So I could, when I write short stories, it's like, okay, I can try things that I haven't done before, like make everybody British, or
Right.
or write about Egypt. And so it's set in 1935, and there's one American. There's a woman. She's a journalist for the National Geographic.
Mm-hmm.
And she's along for the ride, and they discover this 5,000-year-old tomb that they find a mummy in it. So first you think it's a mummy story, but then they start to explore deeper in the tomb, and it just keeps going deeper and deeper. And I'm playing around with everything they find down inside the tomb. That's it gets pretty supernatural pretty quick.
That sounds right up my alley.
Yeah, and I'm of course, me, I like to throw in lots of history, so I'm really weaving in all the history of the Egyptians and what they believed, and how this could be maybe some unsolved mysteries about the Egyptians. Maybe I could answer the riddle with my own imagination, and to suspend the belief of the reader.
Right. Oh, that's great. At my retirement project, I always tell everybody when I retire, I want to be a full-time archaeologist. So you now, sir, are writing something that is going to tickle my horror bone.
Well, it's pretty fascinating when there's some adventure along with it.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
Yeah. So and it's a work in progress. It's I think I'm almost 100 pages on it.
You do a lot of research too on those historical novels, because you get it right.
Yeah, I'm very meticulous about research, because once you put it out there, everybody's going to say everything they want about it, and you at least want the facts to be accurate.
Yeah. Or you just go, poetic license! Poetic license!
Yeah. I'm also working on a short story collection. I've written a few short stories, and just bundling them up together, and we'll probably release those on my own next spring sometime.
So what's the Devil's Woods about?
The Devil's Woods. Now that's one of my more complex stories. It takes place up in Canada, up in British Columbia, and there is an archaeologist in it who basically vanishes in the opening scene. It's about these woods that they're connected to a haunted Indian reservation up in Canada, and it's all fiction. I made up this whole town. There's a little town right next to it of all Dutch people, and they have all these secrets, and they know what's in the woods. And then there's my main characters were actually born on the reservation. They're half Cree, Native Canadian, and their father is the one who disappears. And so two brothers and a sister travel back to the reservation, and they're all estranged. They haven't talked to their dad in years, or each other, and now they're kind of, because their father's disappeared, they go back to the reservation, and they start exploring those woods to find out what happened to their dad, and there's all kinds of creatures in those woods, and
I remember you gave me that book to read to blurb, and I was reading that when I was in Montauk doing research for the Montauk Monster.
Uh-huh.
And I was out on like a veranda overlooking like the ocean in
Oh, yeah.
Montauk reading that. Yeah. I'll never forget that book for that reason alone.
Yeah, and that's a book that actually that was my first book that I ever started in college when I was 19. It was,
Really?
yeah, this what you read is about 1,000 generations later. Yeah, that book I worked on it all through college and was really cutting my teeth on how to write a novel with that book, and then wrote it for like 8 years after college, off and on, and then everybody on my and I tried to sell it, couldn't sell it.
Right.
All my friends and family were like, "Put the book down, start another book."
Right.
So I had written Shadows in the Mist as a short story at that time, and one of my friends said, "Why don't you expand that into a book?" And Shadows in the Mist ended up becoming my first book that I published, and then I kept going back to Devil's Woods and finally published it third after Dead of Winter.
I'm glad you kept going back to it because it's excellent.
Yeah, I can thank a former girlfriend for that because I had really literally just kind of put that on the shelf and wasn't going to go back to it. And she was like, "Well, what else do you got?" And so I let her read this manuscript that I think I just printed up and left it in a box. And she read it and she goes, "This is good. You got to keep working on this." And that kind of gave me the emotional fuel I needed to go, all right, well, maybe there's something there.
And then you said, "Hey, thanks for the inspiration. Now get out of my bedroom."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and the second half of the book, basically the whole climax, it's all brand new stuff. I mean, once I started to rewrite it, I just decided to let myself go nuts with it. And
right. Oh, that's a fun book, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you never take the easy road. What's one thing I've noticed about you? You always throw these wrinkles into your books, and there's stuff with that either comes out of your research or your imagination. Where I'm like, damn, this guy is operating on another level. So I'm glad you're with Sam Hain because you elevate all of us.
Well, thanks. Well, I received a copy of your Tortures of the Damned, and I'm looking forward to reading that one.
Oh, really? Awesome.
Yeah.
I was actually going to ask you if you wanted me to send you one. Now I don't have to. This is great.
You actually already did.
I did?
Yeah.
Shows how much I'm keeping in touch with what's going on in my life.
Actually, Kensington sent it to me, so.
Oh, awesome. Cool, man.
Yeah, I've got it. I also have Montauk Monster, and that one I've read and love that book. Love it.
That was a fun little book. I killed almost everyone I know in it.
I was going to say, I was like, I've always been called, joked about for having a high body count. And I was like, you killed almost every character in that book.
Yeah, I went on a spree. Almost everyone I work with was in that book, and I just murdered all of them.
Yeah. How long did it take you to write that?
I started it in late May, and I finished in July. That was a book where I said, "Oh, I'm just going to do 70,000 words." When I was done, it was like 97,000.
God, 2 months. But you were also, I think you were off. Didn't you have some time off during that?
I did take some time off. Yeah, my father had passed away, and it was therapy. That book was total therapy for me.
Yeah, you needed to kill off a lot of characters.
I mean, it was weird because even like Jack, you were with me at my father's wake and stuff. Like when everyone was gone at night, I was in my mother's kitchen just writing for hours because it was just like the escape for a while.
Yeah,
that's what writing is, man. Writing is a total escape. It keeps you sane.
Yeah, Darkness Rising. I actually included a ton of my own poetry that I wrote years ago when I was going through therapy. Not therapy like with a
like
therapist.
I go
through. No, I mean when it was cathartic for me when I think it was like 22, 23 when I wrote some of those poems, and it was a very angry time for me, and I was just channeling a lot. I wrote some horror poems. I also was, I had some girl I had a crush on or something like that, and wrote a bunch of love poems. And
all right, so you're the guy in Darkness Rising.
Marty.
I'm not. Marty is. There's a little bit of me in Marty, but I actually gave him a much darker backstory than I have. Like he's an orphan, and lost both of his parents when he was 9, and my parents are still married, and I grew up in one of those normal households that didn't really have a lot of drama to draw horror from.
But yet it came.
Yeah. But, I was bullied as a kid, so I knew what it was like to be bullied. And I went through periods of time when I I liked certain women, girls from afar when I was younger, and maybe wrote a love poem or two about them, but didn't tell them. So I knew at least that part.
Right. Yeah. Look,
Yeah.
there's a bit of you in every book. You can't help it.
Oh, I know.
Even if you try not to, you're like, I'm
Even
not going to
this-
put anything.
Even the serial killers, right?
Exactly.
Well, in
Especially
Hunter's-
the serial killers.
In Hunter's work, the closest character to him is the swamp monsters in Swamp Monster
The
Massacre.
skunk.
The skunk ape!
Skunk
I'm a
apes were
skunk
based
ape,
on his
baby.
life, really.
Well, hey, where can folks find out more about all that is Brian Moreland?
Well, you can go to my website, brianmoreland.com. Brian is spelled with an I, B-R-I-A-N, Moreland, M-O-R-E-L-A-N-D. All my books are on Amazon and barnesandnoble.com, and pretty much anywhere that's an online bookseller, you can find my books.
Everybody, you got to pick up his books, or Jack and I will come to your house and kick you in the nards.
No, really,
Oh, and there's
you're an up and coming guy in this genre. You're a player in this. Like, I'm excited to be on the ground floor of you because I think you're going places, kid.
Thanks, Jack.
All right, man. Hey, thanks for coming on. We got to have you on again,
Yeah, definitely got to have you on again. But
and not a year and a half later.
Yes, thanks, Hunter. Thanks, Jack. And I'll look forward to meeting you, Jack, sometime in person. And Hunter, I'll see you. Maybe at Scares of Care next year or something like that.
I'm
would be
hoping to go
awesome.
to Scares next year. So
Come on, everyone,
Oh,
come on aboard.
Well, that'd be great.
I want the Monster Men to host a panel at Scares next year.
We have to talk to Joe Ripple about that. So we can try, absolutely. And if not, we'll all just share a table with all the booze under the.
And then
under
I want
the-
to
There
bring
you
a
go.
camera. I want to bring a camera and do a ton of like stuff with people, like in person. So hopefully
It was big this year. It's going to be even bigger next year. It'll be
Yeah,
awesome.
maybe we can do a Monster Men where we're all like on the same camera.
Exactly.
that'd
I'd
be
love to
awesome.
get like whoever's there. We get us all there. Panel discussion. Just, and,
Exactly.
go for it. So listen, man. Great to have you on. Thank you so much. And I guess we'll call this one a show. And thanks everybody. We'll see you next time on
Monster Men.
All right, thanks, guys.